Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's dive straight into a terrifying real-life medical mystery that kicked off on a luxury cruise to Antarctica back in April 2026. Picture this, a massive ship carrying around 150 passengers and crew from 23 different countries set sail from Ushuaia, Argentina. Everyone on board is expecting the trip of a lifetime, right? They're partying, socializing, and completely unaware that their dream vacation is about to devolve into an absolute nightmare.
Look at how rapidly this whole thing spiraled out of control. It is literally chilling. They depart on April 1st. 5 days in, a 70-year-old Dutch passenger gets what seems like a mild fever and a headache. Fast forward just a few days, he can barely breathe, and by April 11th, he's dead on the ship. The ship docks in St. Helena, his wife disembarks with his body, but then on April 26th, she collapses at an airport and dies too. As more passengers start mysteriously dropping dead, global health officials are frantically alerted on May 2nd.
So what on earth was actually killing these passengers? That was the exact frantic question the stranded passengers, the terrified crew, and the global health officials were all desperately trying to answer. I mean, the ship was literally refused entry to ports, trapped out at sea, while this invisible killer just stalked the hallways. Well, when the test results finally came back, the diagnosis sent shockwaves around the entire world.
The WHO identified the culprit, and it was Hantavirus. Now, I know that sounds like some new sci-fi threat cooked up for a movie, but scientists have actually known about this deadly family of viruses for over 70 years. It's primarily carried and spread by rodents, with different types of rats actually carrying completely different strains of the virus.
50%. Just let that sink in for a second. The absolutely crucial point here is that this pathogen is incredibly deadly. It carries a staggering mortality rate that can kill up to half of the people it infects. It's a terrifying number, but it instantly explains why all these countries were totally refusing to let this ghost ship dock anywhere near their shores.
And here's why the medical community was on such high alert. Zero. There are absolutely zero FDA or WHO approved vaccines for hantavirus, and zero proven antiviral treatments. None. If you catch this, doctors can really only provide supportive care to sort of ease your symptoms, leaving your immune system to fight this brutal, deadly battle completely alone.
To understand what that battle actually looks like, let's compare the two horrifying diseases caused by the different strains of this virus. On one side, you've got HFRS, which primarily hits Asia and Europe, and that causes severe internal bleeding and kidney failure. Then, on the other side, we have HPS, which is more common in the Americas, and that one aggressively fills the patient's lungs with fluid, ultimately causing them to suffocate.
Section 1. Decades of deadly outbreaks. Our modern understanding of this virus actually starts way back in the 1950s, during the Korean War. Over 3,000 American soldiers just suddenly fell ill to this mysterious pathogen. It took scientists nearly 30 years to finally officially identify the rodent-borne virus, which they ended up naming after the Hantan River in Korea.
Fast forward a bit, and we discovered this terrifying ecological domino effect during the tragic 1993 Navajo outbreak in the US, where young, totally healthy people were dying suddenly. Tribal elders actually helped scientists realize that extreme weather directly leads to a surge in cases. It goes like this. Step 1, heavy El Niño rains hit. Step 2, this causes a huge boom in pine nut crops. Step 3, all that extra food leads to a massive rodent explosion. And finally, step 4, you get a dramatically higher chance of human infection.
And we really need to note that this is a truly global threat. For a long time, scientists thought India was completely free of hantavirus, but a massive study between 2005 and 2008 proved otherwise. They found 28 confirmed cases in Vellore, India, and these infections were heavily concentrated among warehouse workers and members of the Irula tribe who catch rats. It just proves that this virus silently lurks pretty much anywhere humans and rodents interact.
Section 2. The Andeas strain twist. Okay, so for decades, the ironclad rule of hantavirus was that you could only catch it directly from a rodent. But in 1996, that totally changed. Scientists documented a specific variant down in Argentina called the Andes strain, and it proved that human-to-human transmission is actually possible. Now, it doesn't spread easily like a common cold, right? It requires prolonged, really close physical contact, think sharing a bed or being heavily exposed to bodily fluids. Because of that, it's usually transmitted among close family members or medical caregivers. But wait, the crucial point that prevents this from becoming an apocalyptic doomsday scenario is this tiny transmission window, one single day. The virus typically only spreads from human to human for a single day, right at the onset of symptoms. So it's a super small window for the virus to actually jump to a new host.
Which brings our story full circle, right back to the cruise ship. Investigators eventually realized that the initial Dutch victim contracted this exact Andes strain at a rat-filled landfill in Ushuaia during a birdwatching tour right before boarding. If he had boarded the ship literally just a few days later, that one-day transmission window would have already closed. But because he boarded immediately, the human transmissible strain was brought right into a closed, crowded environment.
So, is Hantavirus the next global pandemic? I mean, that's the burning question the global news headlines have been screaming ever since that ship was quarantined. Are we on the brink of another global lockdown?
Well, let's take a breath and compare the two. Unlike COVID-19, which is airborne and spreads incredibly easily through casual contact, Hantavirus is not airborne. Even the human-to-human Andes strain requires that prolonged, intimate physical contact, so when you combine that with the tiny one-day transmission window, you can absolutely see why the World Health Organization officially considers the global pandemic risk to be very low. Section 3. How to protect yourself. Now, low pandemic risk definitely does not mean zero personal risk, especially with another massive El Niño weather event predicted this year, which, as we just learned, causes those rodent populations to explode. Let's look at the actionable steps you can take right now.
Here is your clear prevention toolkit. Since we have absolutely no vaccine and no cure, impeccable hygiene and awareness are our only real shields against this thing. You gotta seal up any gaps in your home to keep rodents out. If you're going into a dusty storage room or a warehouse, always wear an N95 mask and gloves. Completely avoid rat droppings and maintain strict food hygiene so you aren't attracting rodents to your house in the first place.
I really want to leave you with a provocative thought here. That 2026 ghost ship was a tragic, terrifying wake-up call. While a global lockdown isn't imminent, the deadly 50% mortality rate of this virus should make us all deeply question our readiness. Are we underestimating the silent, weather-driven threats hiding right in our own backyards? As our climate continues to shift, our best defense isn't some medical cure, it's awareness. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and stay safe out there.